Welcome to our HRC Work in Progress seminar. My name is Christina Stanchu. I'm a professor of English here at VCU and the director of the Humanities Research Center. Before we start, I'd like to thank Ronnie and Ellie for putting this together, and to Ellie in particular for helping us moderate. Thank you to our guests today, Dr. Kay Coghill, for their time and willingness to share with us some of their work in progress. If you're new to our Friday research seminars, I just wanted to say that they are held both online and in person in our Valentine House conference room. And they give our faculty and graduate students an opportunity to share work in progress and to receive feedback from colleagues across the university, to ask questions, to engage. So if you're interested in presenting your work next year, we are fully booked for this year, but for next fall or spring, please be in touch and we'll be happy to speak with you. I'll take just a few minutes to introduce our speaker, Dr. Kay, who will then take about 35 to 40 minutes for their presentation. And while they speak, I would invite you to post your questions and comments in the Q&A function, and I will address them or field them in the order in which they are received. It is my honor to introduce Dr. Kay Coghill, who is a Black neurodivergent non-binary femme and amazing scholar. They are an award-winning educator, as many of our VCU colleagues know, an award-winning practitioner and activist with expertise spanning abortion doula work, community organizing, poetry, and interdisciplinary scholarship. Right before this session, we were talking about the many amazing things they're doing, and I've learned that currently they work as content moderator for the Black Sky app for the special media platform Blue Sky, and also as a research consultant for Penn State University and for other organizations. In addition, they are adjunct instructor in the Department of Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies here at VCU, and also at Randolph-Macon College and at CUNY Hunters College in New York. Dr. Kay's courses tackle critical issues such as misogynoir, race, feminism, girlhood studies, literature, Black popular culture, and hip hop. Dr. Kay has a bachelor's degree in English from ODU, a master's degree in organizational communications from Bowie State University, and a doctorate in media, art, and text from VCU. Their research focuses on the digital resistance of Black women in hip hop, harm reduction strategies against misogynoir and online gender-based violence, and digital Black girlhood. Dr. Kay's commitment to activism includes workshops combating imposter syndrome, digital humanities, and facilitating sister circles, GLOW for Black high schoolers in the Richmond area, which I'm so excited to hear more about. They are a Richmond Reproductive Freedom Project and Neighborhood Access board member and hold research fellow positions at the Hip Hop Counseling Collective and at VCU's Digital Sociology Lab and our own HRC AI Futures Lab. Dr. Kay's approach to their work is uniquely coined as Hoodrat Scholarship. I would love to hear a little bit more about that, reflecting their commitment to creating a versatile ecosystem of knowledge that bridges the gap between academia and the streets. The title of their presentation today is The Clap Back, a look into digital misogynoir and online harm reduction practices. Dr. Kay, welcome to the HRC, and thank you so much for sharing your work with us today.
Thank you all. I'm going to share my screen and my sound. I just want to say thank you, firstly, to VCU for being always so supportive of the work that I am doing and really allowing me to shine as not only a scholar, but also a faculty member. So my name is Dr. Kay Coghill, and thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And this is a work in progress. So for those that may have taken a class with me before or attended my dissertation defense, you may know a little bit about the work that I'm doing, but the purpose of this work in progress presentation is to talk about the work that I am working on, and also the book that I am currently writing in hopes to get a book deal by the end of the year. So I would like to give a trigger warning that this research talks about abuse and violence towards Black women and femmes. There will also be profanity as well, just so people know. But I wanted to start with this tweet that said, "Old Twitter was not fun. Old Twitter was a war zone, especially for Black girls." And as I go through this presentation, you will understand why I chose to share this tweet. So a little background, in 2014, 2015, I experienced and witnessed an influx of online violence towards Black women, which is digital misogynoir. And for those that don't know what misogynoir is a term that was coined by Dr. Moya Bailey in 2008, which talks about the anti-Blackness and also sexism that Black women and femme-presenting Black people experience. From that experience of being a target on a social media platform like Twitter by someone who had a large following, it made me want to look deeper into how other people were dealing with online harassment. So I began to research Leslie Jones, who is a comedian, and their experience on Twitter in 2016 when the Ghostbusters remake movie came out. And this was in my master's program at Bowie State. I did a content analysis of misogynistic tweets, and then I also conducted a focus group in the Washington, D.C. area with women between the ages of 18 and 24 to ask them about their experiences on Twitter and ways that they think that Twitter can mitigate the types of violence they were experiencing. From there, I was working in the industry and I was teaching, but I was also really honing my skills as a communications professional. And then I decided to apply to grad school. And in 2020, I began my PhD program a month after Megan Thee Stallion was shot by artist Tory Lanez. And from what I saw her experiencing online, it made me want to start researching how Megan Thee Stallion was treated on Twitter, but also how she created harm reduction, right? So I was looking at not only the way that she clapped back, which I'll talk about later, but also how she used her music and her performances as a way to clap back. And from there, I completed my dissertation here at VCU on digital misogynoir, and I interviewed Black women and non-binary femmes to discuss their experiences with misogynoir, digital misogynoir, and harm reduction tactics. After I graduated in 2024, I began to be a content moderator via the Black Sky app on Blue Sky. And for those that are not aware, Blue Sky allows you to have different feeds based on your interest. And there is a feed called Black Sky. And Rudy is the founder of Black Sky, and they created what we call the Black Sky algorithms, which is the Black Sky moderation app. And I am a part-time moderator for Black Sky. So I look at all of the reports that come in of anti-Blackness and misogynoir, and I assist Rudy and the team of volunteers that he has in combing through them to decide what needs to be pulled from Black Sky and taken off of the feed, and how to label these instances of anti-Blackness and misogynoir. And doing that type of work along with the work that I do with Hood Rat Scholarship, which I will talk about briefly later on, and then just the work that I did around Megan Thee Stallion and other hip hop artists and Leslie Jones, and then my experiences with misogynoir, they all fed into my first draft proposal of my book that is based off of my decade-long research. So, like I said, I looked at Megan's performance, lyrics, and social media presence, and that really led me to wanting to conduct more research on how Black women and non-binary femmes created harm reduction in digital spaces. So as you can see here, there are a few different screenshots. So the red screenshots is a lyric from her song Shots Fired that came out after she was shot. And it literally starts off with this lyric: imagine niggas lying about shooting a real bitch just to save face for the rapper you chill with. And the entire song was talking about how she was tired of people treating her poorly after she had experienced intimate partner violence. And she did an SNL performance after this when her album Traumazine came out, and she had lost her mother and her grandmother and her father, and she was just dealing with a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna play this. If I could write a letter to heaven, I would tell my mama that I should have been listening, and I would tell a story that I really been wilding, and ask her to forgive me because I really been trying. And nowadays, please show me who been real, and get it from around me if they all been fake. It's crazy how I say the same prayer to the Lord, and I always get surprised about who he take. Man, I'm really thinking about dialing 911 till I free, because they probably won't. So that song is about her anxiety and depression.
We can't hear you. Or the song. We can't hear the song, sorry.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I said share sound. Won't think it's that deep, and I don't do drugs, so I never get a time when I'm at ease. I can't even handle smoking. You still can't hear it?
Yes, yes, we can.
You can.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so basically that was just a video of her at SNL, and when she was performing, she started to feel very emotional and cry, and then after that, she had posted about her needing to take some time to take care of herself physically and emotionally. And if you all are a fan of Megan Thee Stallion, you all know that she came out with a documentary on Amazon Prime this year on Halloween. And she's talking about the mental health experiences that she had based on the amount of online harassment that she experienced when she was shot. So I had 3 research questions that really played a role in not only my dissertation work, but just really how I kind of situate myself around these discussions. So the research questions, I wanted to look in particular at the experiences of Black women and non-binary femmes. And the reason why I chose that is because I identify as a non-binary femme, and I have experienced misogynoir, but I know that what I experienced is not an isolated event. I also wanted to look at, well, how are we protecting ourselves online? Because based on my master's research, it was very clear to me that Black women did not have faith in the technology in the technology to protect them. And as you know, from scholars like Dr. Sophia Noble in Algorithms of Oppression, that the algorithm can be extremely biased and also extremely racist, which means that a lot of the programs and things that are created that are supposed to moderate, right, social media are not doing that. And now that I've been a content moderator for about 5 months now, I can attest to the fact that you need to have actual people moderating and people from different backgrounds as well. And then lastly, I wanted to really look at how they felt, right? So I was very interested in the physiological impacts of digital misogynoir. So I know a lot of my participants were talking about how they had felt nausea or rage, or they had a headache or heart palpitations because of this level of violence that they were not only experiencing, but also, witnessing online. And then quickly, my theoretical framework was 3-pronged. I looked at Black feminist thought by Patricia Hill Collins. I looked at hip hop feminism, which was coined by Dr. Joan Morgan. And then I looked at digital feminist hip hop sensibility that was coined by a homegirl of mine named Kaisha Jennings, who is actually going to be finishing her dissertation, hopefully this semester. And all of these theories allowed me to look at not only the experiences of Black women, but a particular subset of Black women who are influenced and impacted by hip hop culture, and identify with hip hop artists such as Megan Thee Stallion. So my methodology was pretty interesting. I knew that I wanted to interview people. When I did my focus group back in 2016, 2017, I really enjoyed hearing Black women tell their stories. And I thought that it was very important to really lean into qualitative data collection as a form of storytelling. So I did feminist ethnographic semi-structured interviews. I did Black feminist womanist storytelling, which weaves together autoethnography. So that means that I was including my own reflections about digital misogynoir along with the experiences of those that I was talking to. And their experiences, along with mine experience, really allowed the work to show a holistic view of not only what the participant was feeling, but also the researcher as well, especially as someone who identifies as the population that they are working with and studying. From there, I came up with a coding system, and I came up with 3 large themes that had sub themes in them. And the large themes were digital self-defense and harm reduction tactics. And digital self-defense is spelled like that because it comes from the work of Seyi Okiwowo. And she is based in the UK. She is the founder and former executive director of Glitch UK. And then I also looked at critical consciousness and empowerment. So I really wanted to look at the ways in which Black women were creating community online, but also wanted to look at like the matrix of domination that Patricia Hill Collins talks about, these different forms of oppression, and then also these controlling images, which are negative and harmful stereotypes of Black women, such as like the angry Black woman, the welfare queen, the Jezebel, the Sapphire, the Mammy. And then I also wanted to talk about the consequences of the algorithm. So I wanted to talk about like the shift of protection as it pertains to when Elon Musk purchased Twitter. And then also I wanted to talk about the physiological impacts and then the lack of recourse on the behalf of social media websites as it pertained to the participants and just people using it in general who identify as Black women or femme. Through my findings, there were a few things that stood out to me. It was very clear to me that digital misogynoir, cyberfeminism, and technological empowerment, cultural production and representation, and reclaiming digital spaces were all things that Black women were doing in order to protect themselves. And this is one of the quotes that says, "I will screen cap the page, block and report to everybody. Blocks and reports, go to my group, you see this user, block and report." So Jessica was talking about how if she sees someone perpetuating misogynoir, she would take a screenshot of it, send it to her group chat, and encourage them to go block and report that page. And then for the critical consciousness and empowerment, I was really interested in community. And Tony had said that, but what they do is they will like or retweet people who are saying what they're thinking about the bad thing going on. And it is usually, again, other Black women and femmes who are speaking up. And again, it's simultaneously a way to protect and build community and or sisterhood. So I really was interested in intervention. Intervention was something that I directly asked all participants about, and just something that I am constantly thinking about, especially now that I am on the content moderation side of it. I am constantly thinking about what type of intervention can be done to mitigate this, especially because Black women are required to take this stuff into their own hands. And then the last thing were the consequences of the algorithm. And Ho House 29, who was a neurodivergent sex worker, was talking about how they had a meeting with the trust and safety team at X, which formerly known as Twitter, and that they had told them about what sex workers were experiencing online. And they were trying to explain to them that like they're on this platform too, and you all are not really taking the initiative to protect us, and these are the problems that they are causing. And just really just this lack of care, like people experiencing violence from accounts that have been reported but for some reason still exist, or having the option to just create a new account so you can harass people even more. Some of the physiological impacts, like I said earlier, were emptiness, feeling nauseous, feeling anxious, sad, frustrated, rage, anger, feeling dehumanized and devalued. And one of the quotes that really like struck me was Nikki, who is 39 and who has a huge following online, and has for over almost 2 decades now, said that they felt like if there was nowhere for me to feel safe, what am I doing here? So if there's nowhere in the world for me to just be safe and for me to just be what I am, what am I doing here? But it was just a general question about what is my purpose supposed to be in life if everywhere I go, I experience harm, right? So it is very clear that Black women are experiencing harm at higher levels online, just like they're experiencing harm out in the physical world. And it can make people feel as if, like, where can I be safe? Where can I go and exist as a Black woman without being the victim of someone's need to quote unquote humble me, or their need to make me feel less about myself, or their need to remind me that I am not valued. So some of the harm reduction that came up in the research that I've done was blocking, muting. I enjoyed talking to them about things like selective sharing, which is just being mindful of what you're posting, changing their avatar to a cartoon or a meme so people wouldn't be able to see who they were, limited engagement, so not really responding to people, and avoiding rage engagement, which is basically when people post things that they know will get people upset in order to like get them to engage with them. But the thing that stood out the most to me that I didn't really get to explore fully in my dissertation, because the dissertation is just one project, right? And the book is much more stuff that you could talk about. So I didn't get to go into grave detail, but the thing that was the underlying force that really made me want to look into not only hip hop artists like Megan Thee Stallion's experiences, but also the experiences of Black women in films was this idea of clapping back. And I define clapping back as a sassy response in an effort to completely shut down or shut up someone who has tried you. And clapping back stems from the idea of bringing wreck, which was talked about in Gwendolyn Pugh's book, Check It While I Wreck It. And as you can see, bringing wreck is a way for Black participants in the public sphere historically to reshape the public gaze in such a way as to be recognized as human beings, right? So this idea of forcing people to recognize their humanity. And then they also talked about this idea of sass, right? Which is this rhetorical weapon of self-defense used to preserve self-esteem and develop a safe distance between oneself and those who seek to do harm. And from sass and bringing wreck, I believe that's how the clapback was born, right? And clapping back is a term that is used in the Black community to talk about this particular thing, this rhetorical device of basically, for lack of better words, telling somebody you fuck around and you find out, right? So you say these terrible things to me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to verbally shut you down. So here are some examples of Megan Thee Stallion's clapbacks. So Megan Thee Stallion is an amazing writer, but she has become even more potent, as you can say, in the way that she claps back at those that are wanting to bring her harm. And I have reason to believe that that just comes from the level of misogynoir that she's experienced online and offline. So I'm just going to play the intro of this song, which I really love. Is one of my favorite songs. It's actually the ringtone on my phone. But I love this song because she claps back from the beginning. So I'm not going to play the full song. I'm just going to play a quick snippet.
I just want to kick this shit off by saying, fuck y'all. I ain't got to clear my name on a motherfucking thing. Every time I get mentioned, one of y'all bitch ass niggas get 24 hours of attention. I'm finna get this shit off my chest and lay it to rest. Let's go. And if the beat live, ay, I feel like Mariah Carey. Got these niggas so obsessed. My pussy so famous, might get managed by Kris Jenner next. He can't move on, can't let it go. He hook nose full of that Tina Snow. And since niggas need making help to make money, bitch, come be my hoe. All of you bitches is wig on the Bible. Talking shit for a no could find you. I can never be judged by a bitch that was dancing, making R. Kelly go viral. Ay.
So in the entire song, she's literally addressing people about these things that they said about her, right? And this leads into the book. So this is Gwendolyn Pugh in the right corner. She is my North Star. She is my guiding light when it comes to working around clapback. This is the copy of her book that she wrote, Check It While I Wreck It, that I read that really inspired me to look at the clapback. And Hood Rat Scholarship is my think tank in business. I have been working on it since 2020, and Hood Rat Scholarship is an ecosystem of knowledge where basically my goal is to basically scam the system, right? Anything that I learn from academia, I want to be able to distribute that as a form of mutual aid to people who don't have access to it. So that can look like teachings, that can look like social media and digital content, that can look like scholarships, that can look like anything to allow people who do not have access to these privileged colonized spaces to be able to access those things through a community that actually cares about their knowledge, right? And it's an ecosystem of knowledge because it also means that things that I have learned in my community from the streets, from how I grew up, from my family members and the people that I love, I can also embed that into the work that I do. And I am very, very serious about not feeding into the rules and regulations of what is deemed as acceptable in academia. And Hood Rat Scholarship really pushes the narrative that you can show up as yourself. And if you are really true to who you are about your work, then you will make sure that the community is included. So these are the chapters that I have brainstormed around. So as of right now, my idea is that the book will be 6 chapters. Obviously, we'll have like an introduction and then they'll have like a closing. But the first chapter will be kind of like a basis of my story with digital misogynoir, and also talk a little bit about Megan Thee Stallion's experience. My chapter 2 will literally talk about the commodification of the Black woman's body in digital spaces, and also the historical legacy of violence that has contributed to things like the beheading of Nicki Minaj for the VMA poster that Miley Cyrus did, where Nicki Minaj ended up calling her out with the Miley What's Good, right? So just different instances in popular culture that talk about basically like, as the quote say, like how you want beef with the blueprint, like the Black woman being the blueprint. And this is the history of the violence that we've experienced because of it. The third chapter is, and most of these are Megan Thee Stallion lyrics, by the way. The third chapter's title is I'm Always on Point Like a Decimal. And that's going to really go into why did I choose my methodology? Why are these interviews important? And why should we be talking directly to Black women and centering their voices and prioritizing their voices around digital misogynoir? Chapter 4 is a direct quote from a participant, and it's I'm on this platform, niggas keep attacking me, and it's going to talk about the findings and the experiences that they have and about those themes that I talked about earlier. Chapter 5 will also go deeper into talking about how this online violence can manifest and materialize into actual physiological issues, but also Black femicide, right? And then the last chapter is Whichever Bitch Wanna Come Get It, I Got It. And that will be a chapter that really theorizes around this idea of clapping back and how Black women can continue to use the act of clapping back as a way to mitigate and push back against digital misogynoir. So what are my next steps? I want to expand on the act of clapping back. I would really love to be able to really dig deeper into finding examples and writing about this, not only in academia, but also with my Hood Rat Scholarship work. I want to bring in the experience of digital misogynoir on other sites such as Reddit, Blue Sky, and TikTok. And then I want to use Hood Rat Scholarship to make this research more accessible to marginalized communities and as a way to amplify the experiences of Black women and femmes, and I hope to where we can archive their stories and create our own Black digital archive through the work that I am doing. So I always like to close out with a poem from Lucille Clifton, and it's called Won't You Celebrate With Me? And I will read it. Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model. Born in Babylon, both non-white and woman. What did I see to be except myself? I made it up. Here on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. And this is my contact information. And I just want to thank everyone for coming to my talk. And I'm really excited to hear you all's questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. K. We have plenty of time for discussion, and while everyone is, shaping up their comments, questions to post them in the Q&A or in the chat, um, I'm going to start by asking a clarification question about the Hoodrat Scholarship, which seems to be something you've already trademarked and explained briefly in your presentation. But can you walk us through the process of arriving at this term, and who do you hope to reach, right, in future scholarship, and conceiving of your body of work, right, as contributing to Hoodrat Scholarship? And yeah, how has this come about? And can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so I'm first generation in my family, and that even includes high school, as it pertains to my mom. And I come from parents who did not have like typical 9 to 5 jobs. My parents were, in the streets. So for me, I was really fortunate enough to have family members who came from all walks of life, but it allowed me to be able to see like the value in community, and also like the value in like trap culture, and just street culture, and like underground like labor, right? Being able to make money for your family that may not necessarily be seen as like a legitimate way of working, because you're not putting on a suit and going into a 9 to 5, but you're still able to feed your family. And when I graduated from undergrad, one of my dad was murdered in the 90s here in Richmond due to gun violence. And one of my uncles, who has since passed away, when I was an undergrad, he asked if he could come to my graduation, because he didn't know if that environment would be welcoming for him. So at my undergrad graduation, my father's side of the family did not attend. And that signaled to me that I was in these spaces where my family didn't feel comfortable. So Hood Rat Scholarship stemmed from that. And then when I took a class, my first class I took at VCU as a grad student was with Dr. Jennifer Reed, who was also my advisor. And we read an article, I believe it was by Fred Moten, that talked about the undercommons and like fugitivity. And I was really inspired by this idea of like almost like this underground way of like accessing knowledge and realness. And I wanted to be able to contribute that to the work that I'm doing. So that's how I arrived at Hood Rat Scholarship.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Still no questions or comments. I think people are pretty shy. There's a lot to take in, a lot to to digest. But since this is, I heard the mention of a book contract by the end of the year, and I got very intrigued. So, can you tell us if you have any leads, or if you're targeting specific university presses or trade presses, and where that part of sharing this work is at the moment?
Yeah, so I was approached by a colleague of a colleague that's now my colleague, because we both work for CUNY. This is before I worked for CUNY, and they got a deal with NYU Press to post books about digital spaces, and particularly with marginalized groups. And I plan to submit my book proposal to them, but I have been talking to some of my other friends who are also published, because I am not sure if I want to make this an academic book, or if I want to make my book more accessible, like some of my favorite books that I've read, like First Things First by Nadira Simmons, which is about women in hip hop, or Bad Fat Black Girl by Cecily Bowen, which discusses this idea of trap feminism. So I am really like just shopping around the idea of where this book could exist. And I'm in the process of just meeting with my committee members and mentors and other people who have written books and published books, to kind of figure out what would be the best avenue for me. My dream would be for someone to reach out to me and be like, I love your work. Have you thought about publishing? And not any of those scam places, because they reach out all the time, but like a legitimate, press that will make it easier for me, because it is something that, like I said, I'm first generation, so I've never navigated this before. So I'm really just leaning on my academic community to kind of like guide me and give me like some direction on where to go as far as it pertains to shopping the book around outside of the opportunity that was sent to me by my colleague.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure how many other HRC events you have um, uh, attended or visited. We have a YouTube channel full of events and recordings. So I think in September or October last year we had a book publisher, an editor, an acquisitions editor from Nebraska Press. So if you're interested in revisiting some of the nuts and bolts of how to prepare a manuscript or a proposal for publication, that's something it's out there. I have seen a few hands here, and now I'm only seeing two. I think people are reluctant, especially this group, to typing up questions. Unfortunately, we cannot let you speak if you raise your hand. So if you have a moment, please type your question either in the chat or the Q&A. We have one question which I will be getting to in a second. But to your point, if you'd like to workshop a book proposal with us, Dr. K, at any point, we also do proposal workshops, and when the manuscript is closer to completion and to be sent to a publisher, we can do a book manuscript, like a full book manuscript workshop. So keep us in mind as your work takes shape. And also another question, I would put out there for consideration is, think about the differences between publishing with an academic press and publishing with a trade press, right? Because this will answer the question about the audience, like where would you like this book to be read, right? In whose hands would you like this book to land? And I think for accessibility, right, a lot of trade presses or the blended versions, the books that address both a general audience and an academic audience are also priced differently, so they might be more accessible to those audiences. All right, so I think we have seen a few questions in the Q&A. Will Rivera, thank you so much for your comment. They say, I was wondering if Dr. K would be able to share some of new research they may be working on.
Yes, hey Will. Will is the homie. We are work together. I'm a consultant for an organization called My Own Image. That focuses on image-based sexual violence. And one of the things that I have been really interested in recently is two things, and they're completely opposite. It's actually three things, because I talked to my students about it the other day. One is I'm really interested in ethical AI and looking at how people are using AI to perpetuate sexual violence online. Another thing that I have been really interested in is Black girls and how they use TikTok as a site of joy and resistance. Whether that's through Get Ready With Me, story times, dance videos. And the last thing is something that it's a secret. So you all are the first people to hear this out loud. Is I am really interested in doing work around reproductive justice in rap songs, really doing like a lyrical analysis of different songs from artists and talking about how Black women in hip hop are constantly championing for reproductive justice in ways that may not seem like typical, and looking at different artists and analyzing their work. So those are the things that I've been interested in doing.
Uh-huh. Excellent. Thank you so much. I understand from some people who have already texted me that the Q&A function was disabled earlier in the process. It not anymore, so feel free to keep posting your questions. And we're going to go to Star Goodridge's question next. I first want to say clock it. And your dissertation was great, and I enjoyed it. I love women with an axe. Now, the question, Threads was created to be a positive and creative space. As a user and the Black woman, how can I protect my space while still staying open to other spaces and clap back when needed without being labeled the angry Black woman? Thank you so much, Star.
Thank you so much, Star, and clock it. So the first thing is like, you're going to always be labeled as an angry Black woman, right? So you kind of have to work through that realization and that reality that no matter what you do, you can talk in the softest voice. As soon as you are demanding respect, you are automatically going to be seen as an angry Black woman by someone, right? So that is just something that is not going to go away. As far as how can you protect your space, some of the things that people have done on Twitter that probably will also work on Threads as well. I had a Threads, I deleted it. I didn't really like using it. Is making sure that you are not posting things in real time. So if you are going places with your friends, you know, going to brunch, turning up or whatever, post it once you get home. Being mindful of what type of personal information you're sharing. I know we love to put everything that we're doing in our bios on Instagram and stuff, but make a website and link the website. Everyone doesn't need to know every single job you have, what school you're at, what organizations you're a part. They don't need to know everything, right? Leave some things for yourself. And the last thing I would say is when you do feel the need to clap back, sit with yourself first and figure out if you are ready to possibly experience an onslaught of negativity. Because typically what happens is if you clap back to someone who has a large following, their followers were thought to attack you. So the clapback has to be methodical and intentional, and you also have to be ready for whatever comes from said clapback.
Thank you so much, Dr. K, for this wonderful response. I think the next question we can probably go to is the question about programs and therapy. So Jenleisha Harris, thank you so much for this. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your first name. Will there be programs or workshops developed and therapy for those who have experienced harm on social media? I'm not sure if the question is directed at you, if you are organizing those, or if you can recommend some similar programs. Thank you.
Yeah, so funny enough, I have a webinar that I'm doing through Hood Rat Scholarship on how to protect yourself online as a Black woman. And it's on March 31st. It's free. It's only for 50 registrants on Zoom. And you can find that information on my Instagram or on my website, CaitlinCoghill.com. But I actually was talking to Rudy, who is the founder of Black Sky, yesterday about creating almost like a container or a space for resources for those that are experiencing online harassment and digital misogynoir. So there are some things in the work. As far as things that are available now, there are a lot of different organizations that do things around digital security and safety and self-care. I cannot think of all the organizations off the top of my head, but organizations to kind of pay attention to are like Movement for Black Lives. Like they do a lot of work around this. Reframe, they do work around digital security and stuff like that. And then my old employer, Me Too, the Me Too movement has something called Survivor Sanctuary, which is a place for those who have experienced sexual violence, but it offers tools just for people who are survivors of violence. So it's great for people who have experienced online harassment as well. And it's a free website that has yoga, meditation. I do a lesson on there called Compassionate Self-Touch. So those are just some options that are coming off the top of my head. But if you find me on social media or email me, I can definitely send you more organizations. And you can stay up to date with what I'm doing because I do have some things in the works.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you so much. Stephanie Brown asks if you have any thoughts on machine-generated bot magnification or amplification of tweets.
Okay, so I'm assuming that you're talking about tweets that are being like amplified by like different like bots and stuff, the stuff that like rage bait tweets that clearly are coming from a troll account and they're not coming from an actual like person. I don't have any deep like critical thoughts on that. I just know that it is definitely a tool of white supremacy and patriarchal values, and that it is rampant on Twitter right now because of who owns Twitter and who he aligns himself with. And I am very interested to see how our current administration will allow these types of like machine generated bots to create chaos and misinformation online, and how far they will actually let it go. That's why I deleted my Twitter. I deleted my Twitter in November. I'm only on Blue Sky and Instagram and TikTok now.
Good move. Thank you so much. Tiaka Jones asked two questions, which I thought we could probably combine, and I think we have two more. And then, actually, Ms. Jones has three. So let's go to the first one is on methodology. I'm assuming they would like you to think a little or to offer more details about the methodology of your research and your book. Then the next question they ask is my favorite. As a Black woman with some influence, how do you give game to younger Black women in academia? So
Yes.
feel welcome to answer whichever. And the last one is, have you considered a documentary or a film? I'm not sure, feature film or what, a short. One of my favorites was In Our Mother's Garden.
Yes, so thank you for your questions, Tiaka. I hope I said that right. First thing is, as far as my methodology, I'll give you a snippet because that is a very long thing, but my full dissertation defense is on my YouTube. So if you want to watch the full thing where I go into grave detail, is there. But basically my methodology is I did semi-structured interviews. So I created a list of questions and I interviewed people over Zoom. I recorded the interviews and transcribed them. And based on certain code words, whether it was codes that I came up with, or if they were codes that arrived from like just the themes of the interview, I was able to create those higher order codes or themes that I was talking about. On the other side, where I talk about the autoethnography part, I chose to do that because I kept a dissertation journal my entire PhD process. So I had a journal that had over 3.5, 4 years of thoughts around these topics. And I had experienced a lot of digital misogynoir in academia at that time. And I felt like it was almost like my duty to share my experiences as well, and how my experiences intersected with the experiences of my participants. So hopefully that kind of explains it. The next question is, Hiss was definitely my theme song, and Yeah Glow is one of my faves. Thank you for saying I have some influence. That makes me feel special. And the game that I have to give to younger Black women in academia is to understand that you are in a privileged space that is colonized, that was not created for you. So do not expect for these spaces to love you. Seek love outside of these spaces and continue to build your community around you, because you are going to need the support. Also, do not let anybody tell you that you have to look, talk, dress a certain way in order to be in these spaces, because I am a prime example of someone who does not look like your typical PhD holder. And I have many awards and accolades lined up to let you know that I know what I'm doing. And then they had one more question. Okay, the film question.
The film.
One of my like goals in life is to be the person on the documentary, like the scholar. They're like Dr. Caitlin Coghill, gender, sexuality, and women's studies, and like talk about the thing that is happening. But I haven't necessarily thought about doing a documentary myself on my work. Yeah, I would love to be in a documentary to talk about a topic, but I don't know if I would want to actually do a documentary on my research.
Okay, fair enough. But you're open to invitations.
Yes, always.
Wonderful. Thank you. These were great questions. Thank you so much, Tiaka Jones. I hope we have not completely butchered your name. We have two more questions, and I think this is all the time we have for today. And the next one is from Dr. Katie Alford. Thank you, Dr. K. This was really interesting. I would love to hear you talk a little bit more about user-generated interventions. Have you seen any examples of users being able to pierce through algorithmic enclosures to circulate affirmative messages born out of Black communities? Your examples are more about harm reduction, but I'm curious if anyone has been able to find ways to strategically occupy toxic algorithmic enclosures of anti-Black sentiment to spread and circulate Black excellence and joy. Thanks so much, Dr. Alford.
So I would definitely tell you to look into the work of Dr. Chaz Barracks. They are also a graduate of VCU in the Media Art and Text program, and they particularly look at Black joy. That is their thing. But I don't particularly look at Black joy, but what I will say is that there are a few things that came up in my interviews that may be of interest to you in your questions. The first thing is a lot of the people, when they talked about the interventions that they were doing, they would talk about how they would amplify the person's page as far as with positive remarks. And that is called padding the mentions. And a lot of journalists who experience online harassment about 10 years ago, they would pad their mentions. So basically, if someone is harassing you and you're getting a lot of harassing tweets, people would respond to tweets with positive things, so your mentions will be full of positive more than negative. So that was one way. Another way is, I know that hashtags are really important, and that Black Twitter in particularly has really mobilized and made hashtags a place where you can not only create trending topics, but also start conversations and shift people from one subject to another. So I have seen people use different hashtags, such as like Black Boy Joy is one of them, in order to really like cut through any type of negativity around like toxic masculinity, to amplify Black men being happy and enjoying themselves. And usually when that happens, it takes over the timeline because so many people participate. And they did this on Tumblr too about 8 years ago. And it was like called like Tumblr, like Black Tumblr Fridays or something. And basically you would use a hashtag and you would post pictures of yourself as a Black person. And then the other Black people would reblog your stuff on Tumblr, and we would like basically pad the feed with just all these pictures of beautiful Black people on Fridays.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Alford, for your question. We have one more question, and I have one that I had saved for the end, knowing that there are some graduate students here who are thinking about, finishing their dissertations, some, looking ahead to writing a book. And I always remind myself when I have trouble writing or when I advise my students that, it has to go back to the origin of the project. Like, why did you start this to begin with, right? To keep it going. So in just a couple of minutes, can you tell us a little bit about the origin of your project? I know you talked about the changes you've made, from dissertation to book, right? Which are very different. But where did this project originate, and what inspired you to write this dissertation in the first place? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, so in 2015, I had experienced digital misogynoir like I had never seen before on my timeline. So much so that I had to like make my page private, and then I had to end up deleting my account. I was harassed by someone who had a really large following on a forum called Nike Talk. And I had gone on a podcast and I had named names of people on Twitter who were being fatphobic, misogynistic, homophobic, all of the above. And they did not like what I said. So they proceeded to also go on the same podcast, which I thought was very dangerous of the host. And they allowed them to speak their piece, which led to them rallying their followers to harass me. And, you know, basically telling me to like kill myself, calling me fat, talking about my husband, because my husband was a user of Nike Talk as well, and just really like harassing me. And I felt extremely alone and isolated because my friends are supportive, but in that moment, I felt like they didn't understand the severity of what I was experiencing. And that really triggered me to try to figure out like, how did other Black women and non-binary femmes feel when they were being attacked? And then how did they move on from this, and how did they protect themselves moving forward?
I'm really sorry this happened to you, but I'm glad you took that as an opportunity to address this topic and to educate all of us. Really, thank you for that. And Meredith Daniels asks our last question for the day. I hope the questions were useful to you, Dr. K, as you think about this project and move it toward publication and public dissemination. The question is, have you seen any shifts regarding digital misogynoir as new Black female artists arise, and specifically Doechi, as I think that's the pronunciation, as she has blossomed after winning her Grammy Award and using her speech to thank Black women and to advocate for being the weird Black girl, right? Preaching authenticity. Thank you so much for the question.
So I would say that I'm going to assume that the question is asking, have I seen any like positive shifts?
Yes.
I have not. Doechii came out recently and said that straight men were a red flag. She's queer, right? So they were asking her what her red flags were. And she said cishet men. And I said, girl, I understand. And she still is receiving a lot of digital misogynoir and a lot of trans misogynoir, and like desirability politics are coming to play in colorism because she voiced how she felt about cis men. Even though she had just won the Grammy, people still have found ways to harm her digitally online. So I love seeing artists like Doechii talk about loving Black women and thanking Black women and advocating for them. But I also do want us to realize that by doing that, she is also going to be attacked even more. And until these technology companies or people like Rudy, who has Black Sky and moderating, until these types of people are the ones that are moving these social media platforms and deciding what content is allowed on there, we will continue to see an uptick of digital misogynoir, especially in our current political climate.
Yeah, which makes your book and your intervention even timelier and more necessary. So we're very much looking forward to seeing it and to also supporting your process of revision and helping get that book contract. So please stay in touch.
I
Let
sure
us know
will.
how we can support this project moving forward. And thank you all for being here. We are going to finish on time. I wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for spending this hour with us, especially to Dr. K for a great presentation and terrific answers to all the questions. Thank you for asking them.